Good evening, Ram fans, and welcome to the first Monday night sports show of the semester. I'm Ethan Bird.
And I'm Rachel Hallam. The CSU men's basketball team took a trip to Logan, Utah on Saturday.
The game will start off with Sam Merrill bringing the ball up for the Utah State Aggies. He's going to hit that shake and bake, nice step back three, very Luka Doncic-like from last year's Mountain West Player of the Year. He's going to bring it up again. Bet you can't guess what's going to happen next. He's going to open up the game with 2 straight threes.
And now we're going to have CSU's own Kendall Moore drive it to the basket all by himself for a nice little layup to get the Rams within 1 point.
The Rams are going to keep battling, though. Now you got the stalwart veteran Nico Carvacho feeding it to the electric freshman, David Roddy. I could get used to seeing that duo all year.
It was a battle for sure in the first half. Adam Thistlewood draining a three to tie the game at 31.
Here on the inbound, Chris Martin's going to make the smart defensive play and steal. Looks like an easy layup, but nope. Anderson says, good night, goodbye. I'm not going to let you score. And that was really just the story of the second half for the Rams, a strong Utah State defensive output.
Yeah, and it was going to get continued with followed up by a step back from Merrill right here. And this is just going to be the momentum changer of the game, and Utah State was going to take control and end the game like that.
Yeah, Sam Merrill can shoot. He makes it look easy, but he can also pass. He sees the court like no one else in the conference, and a throw down from last year's Freshman of the Year, Keita. And the final from D. Glenn Smith Spectrum was 77-61. After the game, head coach Nico Medved spoke with CTV.
I know the score ended up 16. It didn't feel like that tonight. I felt like the game was a lot closer, and like I said, they pulled away late. But there's a lot of good I think we can build on here. But it's college basketball, right? I mean, you just look around the country and look at these scores and stuff, and so it's one game. We'll go back, and, you know, I'm anticipating that game at our place could be different.
College basketball expert Jason Ortiz joining us today to talk a little bit about CSU hoops. Jason, what needs to change, first of all, for the Rams to win on the road?
So, first off, I think you got to be grateful that you've already played at Utah State and at Boise. Those are probably two of the toughest places outside of New Mexico to play in the Mountain West. And be thankful you don't have to go to New Mexico. That's something CSU doesn't have to do. And I think to get a win on the road, CSU is going to have to start hot and not go on those cold streaks like they had at Utah State. They almost went 7 minutes without scoring a single basket, and that's not going to get you wins at San Diego State, at Fresno State, and those are some of their biggest games coming up.
Well, I'm talking a little bit more about improvement. What do the Rams have to do on February 11th when the Aggies come into town?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you got to say you got to try and stop Sam Merrill. It's more of just trying to slow down Sam Merrill. Last year, Sam Merrill came in, and he started off really cold, and that's how the Rams got to overtime with them last year. I think it's going to play key on that and not letting Keita just stand in the paint. You got to get him moving, and that's something that CSU didn't do at Utah State. They let Roddy get doubled every single time, and unfortunately that's what happened.
The Bigs are going to have to get a lot more physical against Utah State. I do agree with you on that one.
Absolutely. Hopefully something can change for that. Well, thank you, Jason, for being with us today. But sticking with hoops, looking at the CSU women's basketball team, they brought the madness into Moby Saturday afternoon.
Here we have Mackenzie Ellis led the Rams offense with 13 points on the night in this game against Utah State.
Yeah, and then Andrea Brady would be in control under the basket for the Rams that night with 8 rebounds in the game.
Now, the Rams were dominant in the paint as they came out on top with 30 points opposed to the Aggies' 22.
The big key difference here tonight was the fact that the CSU Rams got so much more points off turnovers than the Utah State, coming out of the game with 21 points on turnovers while Utah State was held to only 8.
However, the Rams did not have much off of the bench, getting outscored 9-16.
Now the Rams would squeak by in a 56-55 victory in the final possession of the game against the Aggies.
See, this is a huge win for Colorado State. Finally, they're 11-10 now, finally getting to above 500, especially after a really, really hard season last year. It's just so much easier for a team to win and play hard. Their mentality is much better when they're above 500.
Absolutely, and it was great to see that they could control that game and get to the end and get it in that final possession. And it was just a great win for them, especially, like you say, after that tough loss at Fresno State.
Absolutely. Well, Rams, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Hunter Fillmore will be here with Hunter's Hotspot. Hunter, what's coming up next?
Well, Ethan and Rachel, the CSU men's basketball team has had a big game against Nevada on Wednesday. I'll have all the players that you need to look out for.
Oh, did you see that? Whoa, we scored? Yeah, we scored going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Wait, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine.
Kevin, I need that back.
No.
Kevin!
Hello and welcome back to Hunter's Hotspot. I'm Hunter Fillmore, and this week we will be taking a look at the CSU men's basketball team. The Rams will be taking on the Mountain West opponent Nevada on Wednesday. The Wolfpack is 6-3 in conference play and will be another competitive matchup for this Rams team. Junior Jalen Harris leads the scoring for the Wolfpack with an average of 18.9 points per game. He will be one of the main focuses for the Rams defense going into the matchup on Wednesday. However, the Rams have had their 5-game win streak snapped by Utah State and plan to get back in that win column. How will they do so? Well, the Rams currently sit at 4th in the Mountain West while the Wolfpack sits at 2nd. That means that if the Rams get this win, they will be in much better position to continue that climb to the top of the Mountain West. The last time these teams played, the Wolfpack came out on top. Field goal percentage, however, has been the key factor for the Rams. They have only lost 2 games this season where they are shooting above 40%. The Rams had a field goal percentage of only 36.8 in their last matchup against Nevada, but have had an improvement with the help of true freshman David Roddy. And that is exactly who I want to talk about. In his past 3 games, Roddy has averaged 50.3 field goal percentage, as well as 16 points and 6 assists. This true freshman looks like he could be on the football field, but can knock down the jumper like the guard that he is. Roddy works hard on both ends of the floor. As we can see here, he is the one who forces the turnover here as they kick it out to the wing, and then they will work it down low right here to Carvacho, and Carvacho over to Roddy again to finish the play with the dunk. Well, that's exactly what this Rams team is going to need to do when they play, and that's the best thing that they need to do. Well, the Rams, that's all I have for you this week, but don't go anywhere because Ethan and Rachel will be back on desk. What's coming up? What do you two have coming up?
Well, new football head coach Adazio has been putting in work over break. We will let you know the new recruits.
Plus, 2 Rams have received huge honors. I'll tell you who next.
Welcome back from the break. The new CSU head coach Steve Adazio has been busy this recruiting season. The 2020 class currently includes 17 players, 4 of which are from Colorado. Leading that class is Poudre High School offensive tackle Brian Crespo. Crespo, the first player out of Fort Collins to sign with the Rams since 2015, is ranked the 13th best player in Colorado by 24/7 Sports. He is 6'7", 317 pounds, and has the natural gifts to be a talented offensive lineman. And most recently, Adazio bagged a commitment from pro-style quarterback Jackson Muschamp out of Columbia, South Carolina. Muschamp is the 97th ranked pro quarterback in the country and is the son of South Carolina Gamecocks coach Will Muschamp. Jackson threw for more than 2,000 yards and 29 touchdowns in his senior season. For only being in Colorado for a short time, Adazio is quickly starting to build his team.
Volleyball season has come and gone, but one player is still serving up some fire accomplishments. Senior setter Katie Oleksak was just named by Sportswomen of Colorado as the Collegiate Volleyball Player of the Year. After her incredible career with the Rams, being named 3-time Mountain West Player of the Year, 4-time AVCA Honorable Mention All-American, and becoming CSU's all-time leader in assists with 5,083 assists, it's no wonder the star performer received such an award. The Rams were prominent on Sportswomen of Colorado's Best Collegiate Athletes list this year, as junior swimmer Maddie Ward was also selected as Swimmer of the Year. Ward herself had quite the record-breaking season. In her 2018-2019 season, Ward broke school records in both the 100 and 200 breaststrokes and the 200 individual medley. While accompanied by Tanisha Thomas, Julia Box, and Christina Friedrich, Ward was also a part of breaking the school's relay record. The Rams only have a few more events left in the year, but Ward is making quite a splash so far this season. Sportswomen of Colorado will be recognizing the two athletes for their outstanding achievements on Sunday, March 15th at the 46th Annual Award Celebration and Fundraiser Banquet.
It's just so special that these women who have competed at CSU for so long are being honored like this. It really makes you proud to be a CSU Ram.
Absolutely, especially with Katie Oleksak. Now that she's leaving CSU, it's great that she can leave such a legacy behind.
Absolutely.
Well, don't go anywhere, because coming up next, Ellison Hubbard has the top 5 plays of the week. Ellison, what do we have to look out for?
Well, Camden Rams surprisingly had fans out there at their seats at the CSU women's basketball game on Saturday. Check out his awesome shot on Hubbard's Huddle coming up next.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Five, four, three, two, one.
Good evening, Rams. Welcome to the first ever Hubbard's Huddle. I'm Ellison Hubbard, and tonight I have the best top 5 plays of the week that you must see. Let's break this huddle, starting with number 5. We have Cam the Ram throwing up the backward shot from half court. It's hard for anyone to make a half court shot, but for a mascot to make a backwards half court shot makes it top 5. Going into number 4, Zion Williamson and the Pelicans versus the Denver Nuggets. Beasley drives in. Zion flies in the air and sends that shot to stands. I hope those fans had their heads up because that ball was coming in hot. Coming in at number 3, we have the Pro Bowl. The AFC has the ball. Deshaun Washington throws the interception. Harrison runs down the field. And the big man, Fletcher Cox, gets the ball, takes it 61 yards down the field. I wish I could do that. But he's still going. Stiff Harmon, touchdown. Going in at number 2, we have a high school game. We have 2 high schools facing off, in which one high schooler makes a ridiculous shot from out of bounds. Look at him save the shot, throw it in, swish. Look at that. How in the world can you do that? And at number 1, here we are, Kobe, paying a tribute to the man who died just the other day. Describes the pain the world has from Kobe's death. He was a legend, an inspiration, an icon. The name you will never forget, Kobe Bryant.
All right, but the people are smelling it. Bryant, 4-3. The Lakers down 1. Will Kobe give them one last gamer? Bryant on the move, with the jumper. He got it! 58 points, and the Lakers lead. He has scored the Lakers 17 straight points to put them on top.
And 60 points and a win.
And Bryant will lead here.
So touching to look back at that. But this concludes Hubbard's Huddle. Coming up next, Ethan, Rachel, Hunter, and I will be on the desk for the first week of Down in their DMs. Plus, we take a moment of silence for Kobe and the other lives that were lost on Sunday. So don't go anywhere, Rams.
Welcome back, Rams. We asked fans on Twitter to send us their questions, DM us their top questions so we can all talk about it. Let's kick it off with a question from @SamCole123. What are your predictions for Super Bowl 50?
I'll start it off here. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and the score I have right now is 41-34 with the 49ers taking it. With this 49ers defense, there is no defense that the Chiefs have seen that have been even close to the defense that is playing right now.
See, I agree with you. I think the 49ers will come out on top, but I think it'll be a little bit more higher scoring, 38-28, just 4 more points, I know. But you can never underestimate Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. You know, some of the two most offensively talented guys in the league. But I do agree with you that San Francisco's defense can possibly overcome that.
Yeah, and I agree with you both that the Chiefs are going to come out on top, 42-36. It's going to be the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. They're just going to be blazing the field. And who's going to guard him? You know, Sherman can't do it all by himself. And they do have that defensive pass rush up front. We got Bosa and we got Ford and all of them. But how are they going to handle Patrick Mahomes and those three?
You just got to contain him. I mean, he's one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the league. But what are you thinking, Rachel?
I mean, we're all kind of in agreement here that San Francisco is going to be taking this one. But I think I'm going to go with a little lower of a score with 35-28. Still San Francisco on top. I think it's going to be a shootout, really, like we kind of talk about, just touchdown after touchdown. But, I mean, you talk about how Sherman can't do it all by himself, and I agree with that. But Bosa is doing incredible. I mean, it's only his rookie season, and he's putting up numbers that we haven't seen in so long. And I just think that he's finally, taking control of his defensive line, and he's becoming such a strong leader in this moment that, I don't know, we'll see. I think that, honestly, San Francisco's defense might kick it up a notch and might control the deadly offense that the Chiefs have.
Well, I think another big thing for me, I kind of went with a little homer pick because of Emmanuel Sanders. It was heartbreaking watching him leave Colorado. I mean, he was one of my heroes, one of my favorite guys to watch. Yeah. But I think what's going to make up for it is watching him win a Super Bowl, and I think that's what makes it really special for me.
Yeah, we want him to win a Super Bowl. But like I said,
but
you got a powerhouse right there. And yeah, you look at the Titans game. The Titans were giving them some work, and you were looking at the Texans when they were up 24-0. And that might happen. 49ers might go up. But, you know, the Chiefs scored 51 points, man. Come on. That is going to be consistent.
You're talking about this 49ers offense, and their run game has really come into itself once they've gotten into the playoffs. So I think that run game is going to balance out that passing game a little bit more than the Titans or the other teams that they've faced in the playoffs. So I think this offense with Jimmy Garoppolo and their run game is going to be tougher than most people are expecting. Yeah,
Jimmy Garoppolo is a great quarterback, but he's also not been putting up the numbers that he consistently was putting up in the regular season. I mean, like you say, their running backs were just killing the game out there in their last game. And Kittle is usually a star performer for their offense, but now he's just more on the blocking side, and I think that that's a huge asset for them.
Yeah, and there's been that argument whether Kittle or Kelsey is the better tight end, and both can do the job, and both are good at what they do, but Kittle has that blocking that I think puts him ahead and what makes this run game so much better.
Well, we're going to move on to our second question, which comes from @Alex Rios, and he asks, we kind of touched on it a little bit, what impact will Kobe's death have on the basketball sports community?
I believe Kobe has an impact on the whole world. And yes, sports is huge, because for a football player, it hurts me and it hurts my team that, you know, you watch Kobe growing up for a decade and so on, and you're just like, wow, this man was scoring 81 points. He was taking out teams like he was by himself. And now he dies in a horrible crash with his daughter. And for all the fathers out there, they're like, wow, you wish you had a daughter. Or when you have a daughter, you don't want them to die with you. You would save them. And so regardless of the fact, Kobe had that mentality that we all look up to, and we're going to carry that on at any sport, any level, that Mamba mentality.
Well, Rachel, you grew up in California, so you've got kind of a hometown connection to Kobe. How did this kind of hit you?
Well, it was a huge shock at first. I honestly didn't think any of it was real. But once it kind of set in, it was heartbreaking. It was so devastating to hear about this. Like you say, growing up in Southern California, this is who I watched. Kobe was the man. I loved him. I wanted to be him in some aspects. I mean, my dad would even nickname me Kobe on soccer fields all the time, and it was just so great to hear that name just being yelled in my direction. Like, it's so great to be compared to somebody like that. I mean, I might not have ever gotten to that point, but I was still, it felt so good to be compared to them. And I've always been a Lakers fan just because of Kobe. I mean, he's the one that I've watched my entire life, so now that he's just gone, it's awful.
Yeah, it's just, I think, like Ellison talked about, it's the world that is impacted with this. He has done so much outside of the game of basketball, and I think that's the biggest impact is how people who didn't even watch the sport are talking about him. And he is one of the biggest legends in basketball to die at such a young age. I think he may be the youngest.
Yeah, I think where we can all bring it together is what's so special about Kobe is how he transcended sports to just something you could relate to in everyday life. The Mamba mentality isn't just something that you take into when you play sports. Of course, that's something that we all look up to, but I mean, even in our careers and what we do, you have the Mamba mentality. You love what you do and you do it as hard as you can. And I think that Kobe brought that not just to the NBA community and the sports community, but even, like you said, people who didn't watch sports and were that invested into sports. I don't know anybody who hasn't yelled Kobe and thrown something into a trash can or whatever. And it's just, it's absolutely heartbreaking as, you know, those of us that work in the sports community to lose such an icon and someone that we could all relate to and love so much. I mean, sometimes it was hard to love him when he was tearing up my Nuggets, but those are memories that I can now look back on with a smile.
I think my favorite part about his Mamba mentality was his idea of taking care of his family. His daughters were the most important thing to him. I mean, you talk about Gigi, she was already going to be a fantastic basketball player, and she took after her dad in every aspect of it. And his family was just a well-knit family. And I mean, they talk about how there was that interview where the only reason he would be taking helicopters was so that he could be with his family after practices. I mean, basketball is going to take up so much of your time, but that's what he dedicated his whole life to, that you couldn't just cut that time out of your life. And now that he had all these kids and his wife that he needed to be with, he would start taking helicopter rides so that he could be in practice and then immediately go pick his kids up from school. And I think that was honestly my favorite part about Mamba mentality and Kobe in general.
Yeah. Well, I have just seen so many NBA players, NFL players that have been impacted by this death. I think that they should put his logo somewhere on that court or something. That is an amazing man that made a huge impact on that NBA and NFL league. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's other players that he was competing against for his whole career, and they still look up to him. And I think that's awesome. These people that you kind of have a little bit of a hatred for just because they're on the opposing team and you're constantly having to battle with them all the time. But the fact that he was on a different team and still making an impact to those people's lives and even their outside lives from basketball, that's just an incredible aspect of Kobe's career. Well, Rams, that is all we have for you tonight. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at sports_CTV and tune back in tomorrow for more news from the people you know and see Brendan Fairbairn and Erica Johnson talking about a standout player on Doing It All.
And as we close out our show tonight, we've talked about the death of Kobe, and now it's time to recognize the others as we go into a 24-second moment of silence. We're going to name everybody that we lost in that crash. Kobe Bryant.
Gianna Bryant.
John Altobelli.
Carrie Altobelli.
Alyssa Altobelli.
Sarah Chester.
Peyton Chester.
Ari Zobanian.
And Christiana Mauser. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family members of those who passed, as well as the sports community.